Well, sometimes we like to do a roll pattern in one hand and do a pattern like this in the other hand. And when we put them together, they sound like this. Now, sometimes the music calls for single triplets, sometimes patterns with triplets. And here's what the single triplet looks like. And now, there's an interesting pattern that's made up of a tap and two triplets, and it goes, that's 7 taps. If we change the location of the accents in that 7-tap group, we get that doesn't sound like a tap and two triplets. Now, if we add 2 more triplets to that setup, we get all right. So I'll do a 7-tap roll and then add 2 triplets to that and make it a 13-tap roll. But here's a 7-tap roll. All right, this is a roll with syncopated beat involved, and it now sometimes we're doing this, but we want to flam this. You hear the difference between that and that, leading into this double beat. Sometimes the playing of the bones is with very rapid music, and so you have to be able to hang on to the bones. I've had to pick bones out of ladies' laps in the audience. Of course, that's all right. But what we do in order to help us hang on to the bones is to rub the edge of the bone with some of this. This is a combination of beeswax and rosin. And what we do is just rub it on the edge of the bone like this on each side. And then when you feel it, you know that it isn't going to slip. There's one bone is rosin, and there's the other one that's rather beeswaxed, so that now I'm going to be able to hang on to the bones no matter how fast the music plays or how loud it's going to play. Now, after we get through rosining the bones, then what we do is tune the bones. And of course, audiences get a boot out of seeing me tune the bones, because that seems a little incongruous. But you can have this kind of a sound out of the bones, which is not nearly as interesting as well, hear the difference in the, that's a kind of a soggy sound, and that has a ring to it. But sometimes, of course, we want to play a way up like this if the music requires a soft playing of the bones. So that's the way we tune the bones. Sometimes when we're playing with an instrument like the guitar or jaw harp, we want to cut the volume of the bones down, and we do that. That's what it sounds like. But by crossing the bones this way, so they're striking way up in here, we get There are times when we're playing along like this, we want to change the color of the sound of the bones. We throw another finger over, so we have two fingers in between the bones. And instead of it sounding like this, it sounds like this. But we can also let this anvil bone float as we move our index finger away up, so that the bone will now see the index finger way up there, and that bone is simply resting on my thumb and middle finger. So here's a little more detail relative to the floating of the bone. And what happened, we've gotten the finger over like so, and the low note is this way. And now, if we move the index finger way up to the top of the bone, let the thumb just rest on the bone, and the middle finger isn't pushing the bone into that meat at the base of the thumb, so it's that bone is just lying in there. Then when we do this, the bone can ring. And when the bone is just lying in there, there's nothing to keep it from making that ring, the ringing sound. Sometimes we want to play the bones very quietly for a long time. And the easiest way to do that is to move the anvil bone way up like so, so that we have just a little of the anvil bone sticking out. And we can just shove the so now I'll play those three variations that we talked about a minute ago and see if you can distinguish between them. we kids used to play out on the corner of Tennessee Avenue and F Street, Northeast Washington. And at night, this was under the corner lamppost, there would be a group of big black fellows who would come to that corner, and we smaller kids would get out of the way and get back into the back part of the yards that were near there, and we'd watch them. The streets weren't paved at that time; they were just macadam. These fellows would get sand out of the gutter and sprinkle sand on the sidewalk under this in this lamppost light, and then they'd get these bones out of their pockets, and these were good old rib bones, and they would play rhythm patterns and sand dance. And what they did with their sand dancing and the things that they did with those rhythm bones would just about curl your hair. And I have that recollection of how you can react to bones playing and sand dancing or just fancy bones playing.